I used to think I was the luckiest 34-year-old guy around. A software engineer living in San Diego with a stable job, proud parents, and most of all, about to marry the woman I believed was the most perfect person on earth. I met Lauren on a June evening at a colleague's outdoor birthday party. She wasn't like anyone who had ever crossed paths with me. When she laughed, the entire space seemed to light up. Her red dress hugged a body toned by marathon training, and her eyes held enough confidence to make anyone feel small yet drawn in. I remember it clearly because I forgot to even sip my beer. I just sat there, watching her passionately debate indie films with a group of total strangers. She was the kind of person who naturally pulled a crowd toward her, bold, magnetic, and alive. We started dating not long after. Lauren was 3 years younger than me, working in PR for a major event planning firm in the city. Her lifestyle was fast, glittering with weekend EDM shows and city rooftop brunches. I, on the other hand, lived as neatly as the code I wrote every day. But somehow, amid the chaos and structure, we found balance. She pulled me out of my comfort zone. I helped her breathe through deadlines and client meltdowns. We lived together for nearly 3 years before I proposed. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon. She was baking in the small kitchen of our 15th floor apartment in the gas lamp corner. I didn't stage a movie moment. I just walked in, saw her frown over a burnt batch of cookies, and knew I couldn't let her slip away. Lauren cried when I pulled out the ring. She didn't need to say anything. Her nod was enough to make me feel I had just stepped into the right life. We spent nearly 8 months preparing for the wedding. Lauren handled almost everything, from the bridesmaid color palette to curating a vegetarian menu for her picky foodie friends from San Francisco. I was in charge of what she left to me, picking out wedding bands, cake tasting, booking the live band. Every evening after work, we'd stretch out on the couch, scroll through Pinterest, argue over peonies or wild daisies, and end up laughing in each other's arms. Everyone said we were the perfect match. There were moments I struggled to keep up with her pace, the non-stop parties, the loud circle of friends who stayed late into the night. But I reassured myself that it was just Lauren being Lauren. She wasn't fake. She simply lived the way she felt most free and fulfilled. I always believed, if we were honest with each other, differences could be managed. We had reserved a vineyard in Napa Valley, finalized a guest list of around 90, and were about to send out hand-printed invitations. Everything was in place. My mom even started practicing her old apple pie recipe to bake for her future daughter-in-law. I looked at Lauren each morning, hair messy, oversized t-shirt, carrying a coffee cup past the living room, and felt nothing but hope. I was ready to start the next phase with the woman I believed fate had brought me. What I didn't know was that another story had been unfolding behind me. When that door swung open, it didn't just wreck a wedding, it shattered every layer of trust I'd built for nearly a decade. I hadn't planned to come home early that day. A last-minute meeting cancellation gave me almost 2 extra hours. I stopped by our usual wine shop on 5th Street and picked up a bottle of Lauren's favorite red, thinking I'd surprise her with dinner. I imagined her smile when she opened the door and saw me holding the wine and a steaming bag of Italian. The elevator ride to the 15th floor was quiet as usual. When the doors opened, a metallic pink gift bag sat right outside the apartment, the glossy paper catching the orange rays of sunset along the hallway. Tied to the handle was a tiny silver card with messy handwriting. To the boldest bride. Nothing topped last night. Love, Bella. Bella was her maid of honor, a loud, crass friend from college who always rubbed me the wrong way. I never disliked her, just didn't click. I picked up the bag, planning to leave it on the dining table and ignore it. But as I held it, I realized it wasn't as light as it looked. Something solid and oddly shaped rested beneath the decorative tissue paper. I placed it on the kitchen counter, tried to walk away, but my eyes kept returning to that message. Nothing topped last night. Simple words, but they stung like barbed wire. I opened the bag, hoping it was nothing more than bachelorette party junk, plastic tiara, bride-to-be sash, a few silly-shaped candies, all normal, until I found a wrinkled pair of black men's boxer briefs draped over a mini bottle of rum. My stomach turned, I felt cold. My fingers trembled as I found something else. Tucked between the tissue layers, a silver USB stick with no label. I didn't want to watch it. Every part of me screamed not to, but what I'd already seen refused to let me look away. I plugged it into my laptop, heart thundering in my chest. One file, labeled 4LO. The video opened with a noisy bar scene, purple lights flashing. Lauren sat in the middle of her friends, wearing the plastic crown, laughing uncontrollably as Bella raised a cocktail and shouted something obscene. I tried to breathe. It was a bachelorette party. Wild, yes, but maybe just silly. Then the next scene rolled in and erased every excuse I could muster. Lauren was on a small stage dancing against a male stripper, arms locked around his neck like no one else existed. She pulled him off stage amid cheers, disappearing with him into a door-marked private lounge. I paused the video. My skin was drenched, my temples throbbed with pressure. Still, I hit play again. I needed to see. The following clip froze my blood. Lauren on a velvet hotel couch, surrounded by three men. They toasted, flirted. One leaned in and kissed her. She kissed him back. Then another joined. By the end, she was leading all three into a bedroom, her back to the camera, still smiling like it was the best night of her life. Bella's voice rang out, proud and echoing, "Bride of the year! Lauren, you just made history!" The screen went black. I didn't move. My chest wasn't heaving. It was hollow. This wasn't the woman I loved. I had fallen for an illusion. Everything, plans, memories, trust, was in ruins. The apartment no longer felt like home. The couch we picked out during the fall clearance sale, the framed photo on the bookshelf, the map with travel pins, all of it felt stripped of meaning. She came home close to 7 p.m., arms full of ribbons and wedding invites. She beamed. "I found the perfect font for our names. Want to see it later?" I nodded, forcing a smile. I said nothing. Not because I forgave her, but because I had already stopped seeing this place as mine. I didn't sleep that night. The apartment was oppressively quiet. Lauren lay an arm's length away, breathing softly after a full day of wedding prep. Under the dim light, her face looked peaceful, like the world only held white dresses and floral centerpieces. I lay flat, eyes locked on the ceiling, heart clenched by a pressure that wouldn't let go. I could no longer see the woman I proposed to. The video played again and again in my mind. Her laughter at the bar, her arms around a stranger's neck, her lips against someone who wasn't me. Nothing sacred remained. No tears, no arguments, just the numb weight of loss. At dawn, Lauren got ready for work, carrying the revised seating chart. She kissed me on the forehead, smiling like everything was still intact, then walked out the door. The sound of it shutting was all I needed. I didn't think. I acted. I leapt out of bed, opened the closet, and pulled out my suitcase. I didn't need much, just enough to leave for good. Shirts, jeans, basic toiletries, my laptop, and backup drives. Nothing she'd touched went in that case. I scanned the apartment one last time. The place where I had imagined lazy Sunday mornings was now just another stop I had to leave behind. The photo from Joshua Tree still hung on the wall. She smiled brightly. The man next to her, a stranger. I couldn't forgive someone who laughed in the face of another's trust. I didn't leave a note. No calls, no texts. Silence was the only thing keeping me from screaming from the weight in my chest. I took an Uber to the underground parking lot and started driving north. I had no destination in mind, just far enough that the fake laughter from that video wouldn't echo in my head again. After about 3.5 hours along the coastal highway, I pulled into a small town called Mendocino Ridge. I'd read about it years ago in a travel blog. Misty, quiet, and far from everything. Perfect for someone trying to escape himself. I rented a wooden cabin on a hillside overlooking a valley of dense pine. The front desk clerk asked nothing but how many nights I'd stay. I paid for a full week up front. Inside, warm yellow light filtered through sheer curtains onto creaky wooden floors. A large bed with a dark brown fleece blanket, a handcrafted stone fireplace in the corner, a small writing desk beside a rattan chair. No TV, no noise. I dropped my suitcase, pulled out my phone, and shut off all notifications. 15 missed calls from Lauren, dozens of unread messages. I didn't open a single one. I wasn't ready for excuses. That night, I lay on an unfamiliar bed. No familiar scent, no one beside me. The soft chirping of insects outside the forest and the wind rustling through leaves comforted me more than anything since watching that video. I stayed awake again, not out of pain, but because I was finally starting to accept what I'd been denying. Lauren had betrayed me in a way beyond repair. I didn't need to shout at her for an apology. I didn't need to cry to prove I was hurt. I just needed to disappear from the narrative she called her perfect life. The next morning, I opened my laptop, logged into my bank, and canceled the supplementary card Lauren used for wedding bookings. I made a few calls to terminate contracts signed under my name. Everything was handled neatly, no tears, no leftovers. By afternoon, I pulled out a notebook and began writing. Not to tell anyone, just to remind myself, trust once shredded cannot be patched with an apology. 3 days in Mendocino Ridge was enough to piece together fragments of my shattered clarity. I stopped asking why. All I wanted was to confront the person who pushed Lauren past the edge that filthy night. The one who filmed, encouraged, and sent the gift bag like a trophy. Bella. Her name was tied to every part of the chaos. Every clip rang with her shrill laugh and that shout, "Queen Lauren, boldest bride in America." I didn't need Lauren to confirm Bella was the one recording, egging her on, possibly even orchestrating it. I used a burner app to send a message. "Bella, this is Jaden. We need to talk. Meet me at the coffee shop on 9th Street, 3 p.m. tomorrow. Come alone." She read it in less than a minute. A reply popped up. "Jaden, what? Is something wrong with Lauren?" I didn't respond. The next afternoon I left town, drove down the cliffside highway back to Santa Rosa. The sky hung low, thick with the smell of damp asphalt. The cafe I picked wasn't a place the popular crowd would be seen. Worn, quiet, tucked beside a gas station. I arrived early and chose a shadowed table behind the pastry case. At exactly 3 o'clock, Bella walked in as if she were stepping into some trendy brunch spot. Neon mini dress, leather jacket, oversized sunglasses indoors, and perfume so strong it stung the air. When she saw me, she took off her shades. Eyes guarded. "Jaden, what the hell is going on?" Her voice carried louder than necessary. I didn't shake her hand or greet her, just nodded. "Sit down." She crossed her arms, raised one brow. "You texted like you're threatening someone. Did you and Lauren break up?" I opened my laptop and turned the screen toward her. No words, just pressed play. In the first 40 seconds, Bella looked unbothered, like she was rewatching an old vlog. But as soon as Lauren kissed the second stranger, her smile vanished. I paused the clip when Bella's voice in the video screamed, "Totally worth it, legendary bride." She leaned back, shrugged. "I don't see why you're blowing this up. It was just a bachelorette party. Everyone does something crazy before the wedding." 3 strange men in one night?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "That's your version of spontaneous?" Bella exhaled, now visibly tired. "I didn't tell her to do anything. Lauren's an adult. She made her own choices." I nodded. "But you recorded it. You cheered her on. You sent dirty underwear to our apartment like a joke." Bella blinked. "You're overreacting. That underwear was a gag. No one meant to offend you." I opened another file, screenshots of her messages with Lauren. I had backed up everything, from Lauren's iCloud while she still shared her password. One message read, "If Jaden finds out, say you were drunk. As long as there's no pregnancy, this will blow over. Don't get soft. The wedding is still the end goal." Bella's eyes froze. "You went through Lauren's phone?" "I'm sitting across from someone who filmed my fiancé cheating and called it entertainment. Don't preach to me about ethics." Silence thickened the air. Bella looked down, quiet for the first time. "What do you want?" I stood, eyes locked on her. "I don't need your apology. Just know, if you keep playing innocent, people are going to find out exactly who you are." She looked up. "Are you trying to smear me?" I pressed my lips together. No need. I'll just show a few people from our mutual circle this video. How long do you think they'll stay quiet? Bella turned pale. I walked out of the cafe without a glance back. I didn't return to Mendocino Ridge right away. On the way, I stopped at a riverside park and sat on a wooden bench, watching water churn below. The questions were gone. I didn't want to re-watch the video a third time. What I needed was to plan my next move. The person who dragged Lauren across the final line had been exposed. But I wasn't done yet. Lauren was still playing the role of innocent bride with her parents, co-workers, and friends. Pretending was never something I could stomach. And if anyone mistook my silence for forgiveness, they were about to face a very different reality. By the time I returned to Mendocino Ridge, dusk had settled. The wind screamed through the pine trees like something long buried coming loose. In my mind, Bella's performance from earlier replayed itself. Deflection, arrogance, and a smugness that made everything feel like a harmless prank. I couldn't let someone like that control the narrative. The moment I stepped inside the cabin, I opened my laptop. The list of mutual friends between me and Lauren wasn't long, but it had enough weight to shift the conversation if chosen carefully. I wasn't posting it online. I wasn't out to ruin anyone. I just needed to peel the mask before they wrapped themselves in victimhood. I started with Marcy Lawrence, close friend but not the wild type. She once messaged me when we got engaged. "Jaden, you deserve to be happy. Keep Lauren grounded. She's easily led when the wrong people hype her up." I sent a short message and a Google Drive link. "Marcy, I'm not asking you to take sides, but you need to see this, especially since you cared about both of us. Please don't share the link. I just want you to understand why I disappeared." 12 minutes later, she replied with just 3 words. "I am sorry." Next, I sent messages to Evan and Riley, 2 guys from our Thursday bowling crew. They had seen how deeply I cared for Lauren. They even helped me plan the beach proposal. I emailed each of them with screenshots of the texts between Lauren and Bella, and a shortened version of the video. Nothing graphic, just enough to reveal the betrayal. No one responded right away. I didn't expect them to. I wasn't looking for instant sympathy. I just didn't want them manipulated by half-truths, crafted by a group that had always spun stories in their favor. 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message came in from Riley. "Jaden, that's awful. I never thought Lauren would do that to you. I swear, if anyone in that other group keeps pretending they don't know, I'll make everything clear." That confirmation was the first thing to ease the weight in my chest. The next morning, I received an email from someone unexpected, Claire, one of Lauren's co-workers, who had met me only once at the office Christmas party. "Jaden, I just heard from Marcy. If you need someone to speak up for the truth, I'm willing to clarify what Lauren has been telling people at work. She's crying everywhere, saying you abandoned her for no reason. I thought you should know." Lauren was painting herself as the victim. Of course, I didn't reply to Claire. Instead, I converted all the data into a clean PDF, password protected, and saved 2 backup copies outside my laptop. I wasn't playing dirty, but I wouldn't let anyone wash away what happened with tears. By afternoon, messages from another group of old friends started rolling in. Some expressed regret. Others avoided the topic. Some tried to justify it. Maybe she really was drunk. I didn't respond to people like that. Friday night, a message came in from an unfamiliar number. "Jaden, it's Zoe. I had no idea until Marcy sent me the video. I'm disgusted by the way Bella was laughing in it. If you need someone to verify the clip is real, I'm in." Zoe was the one Lauren used to call her guardian angel. Maybe that angel had finally fallen out of her orbit. I wasn't trying to isolate Lauren from her friends. She did that herself with her behavior. What I shared wasn't revenge. It was a way to stop her from spinning this into a private matter between lovers. She turned that night into a performance. All I did was bring the curtain down. I glanced at the clock. Nearly midnight. A new email popped up from Claire. This time, just 1 line. "Lauren just requested leave. She said she can't handle the backlash. But maybe someone's finally holding themselves accountable." I closed my laptop. Outside, it had started to rain. The glass window reflected a face no longer twisted in stress. I didn't feel peaceful, but at least now I was standing where the truth couldn't be distorted. As long as I held on to that, I didn't need an apology. Monday morning, I parked in front of the red brick house nestled in a quiet corner of Walnut Creek, the Richardson family home. I walked across the neatly trimmed lawn where Lauren had once held my hand and proudly said, "They're a bit strict, but they really love me." I had smiled back then, unaware the most difficult person in this story would be Lauren herself. I rang the bell. The soft chime inside made the silence heavier. The door opened. Mrs. Richardson appeared, holding a dish towel, her eyes lined with age but still sharp with poise. "Jaden? Oh, goodness, what's going on?" Lauren hasn't said a word. She's been like a ghost since the weekend. I nodded, voice steady. "I'd like to speak with both of you. There's something serious I need to show you." She hesitated, then nodded, stepping aside. "Charles is in his study. Come in." I sat down on the cream-colored leather sofa in the living room. Mr. Richardson came out, adjusting his glasses, still wearing a dress shirt like he was ready for a Zoom call. "Good morning. What's this about? Lauren mentioned you two were taking space. Trouble before the wedding?" I placed my laptop on the mahogany coffee table. "Yes, but not because of differences. Because of the truth. I need you both to see this." No one said a word. I played the video, sound just high enough to catch every word from Bella without masking the footage of Lauren laughing while leading three strangers into a hotel room. Mrs. Richardson covered her mouth, her eyes shattering with every frame. Mr. Charles stood frozen, hand clenched on the armrest. When the video ended on Bella's cheer, "Queen Lauren," I clicked pause. 10 seconds of silence. Mrs. Richardson spoke first. "Jaden, is this real? Are you sure this is Lauren?" I met her eyes. "Do you think I'd fake something like this?" Mr. Richardson took a deep breath, voice hard. "She's ruined everything. Why? Why would she do this with the wedding around the corner?" I didn't answer right away. I pulled a folded printout of the text exchanges between Lauren and Bella from my pocket and placed them on the table. This is how they planned to cover it up. Nothing about being drunk, nothing accidental. These were intentional choices. Mrs. Richardson flipped through the pages, hands trembling. "My God, why is she like this? We raised her to be careful, respectful, not reckless like this." Mr. Charles sat back down, removed his glasses. "What do you plan to do next?" I leaned back, eyes forward. "Nothing. I left the apartment. Anything we shared under my name is now canceled. The wedding is off. I didn't come here for advice. I came because if Lauren is telling you I just disappeared, you deserve to know the real reason." He nodded slowly. "You're right. We can't defend her this time." Mrs. Richardson clutched her husband's hand. I don't know what to say. "Jaden, you didn't deserve any of this. You've always treated her well. We believed in the two of you." I glanced toward the window where sunlight brushed against old wedding photos on the wall. Belief isn't always enough. Behind some smiles are things people never want to admit. Mr. Richardson stood up. "Thank you for coming, and thank you for not broadcasting this like most would have. If Lauren has any shred of awareness left, she'll need to face the consequences, even from us." I nodded. As I stood to leave, Mrs. Richardson called after me. "Jaden, if you ever need anything, even just someone to talk to, you're always welcome here. Not because of Lauren, but because we've always seen you as one of our own." I didn't respond, just gave a small bow of the head. As the iron gate closed behind me, I stepped back onto the street, as if all the air had been pushed out of my lungs. Their family now had to deal with the chaos their daughter created. As for me, I walked away just in time, before I drowned with it all. I didn't have to wait long for Lauren's world to start crumbling. Just 2 days after I left the Richardsons' house, Marcy forwarded me a screenshot of a group chat message. In it, Lauren was yelling. "Jaden faked everything. He edited the video to frame me. I got set up. No one has the right to judge without knowing the full story." She was still reacting the way she always had, deflecting, denying, and scattering blame anywhere but on herself. That afternoon, Mr. Richardson called me. She came home with her suitcase, crying and slamming furniture, saying it was all your fabricated story. When I asked why she wouldn't watch the video again with me, she stormed off to her room and locked the door. I said nothing. He continued, voice weary. I gave her 3 days. As of this morning, she still refuses to admit fault. Janet won't even look at her. I packed up her things and left them in the foyer. If Lauren doesn't realize she needs to change, there's nothing more we can do. I gave no reply beyond a quiet yes, because anything more would have just been a repetition of everything Lauren had always ignored. I heard from Zoe that Lauren texted Bella that same evening, asking if she could crash temporarily. Bella, the same one who once crowned her queen of the party scene, not only refused, but responded with a single line, "I don't want to be involved anymore. Figure it out yourself." Rachel chose silence. No defense, no reply. Claire later told me Lauren had come to her office hoping for a spot to stay for a few nights, but Claire used the excuse of living with her boyfriend to turn her down. 32 hours after being kicked out of her parents' house, Lauren sat on the front steps outside Brooke's home, a once close friend from high school. She made calls for help, knocked until her knuckles were raw, but no one came to the door. The doorbell camera caught everything. That clip was later leaked into the group chat High School Forever, where more than 20 former classmates who once admired Lauren simply read it and sighed. Zoe messaged me afterward. "Jaden, she has nowhere left to go. I'm not pitying her, I just can't believe how fast it flipped. Just last month she was the adored bride, and now no one wants her around." I didn't respond. I didn't need pity on her behalf, because Lauren wasn't abandoned over one mistake. This was the price of repeated betrayal and unshakable arrogance. A week later, I heard she managed to rent a small room on the east side of Oakland, an old building with peeling paint and darkened hallways. Her security deposit drained the last bit of her personal savings. Her account balance nearly hit zero afterward. Chloe, a former sports teammate of Lauren's, ran into her at a gas station coffee counter. Lauren wore an employee uniform, standing behind trays of muffins and a drip machine. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes sunken from lack of sleep. When she saw Chloe, she turned away, pretending to wipe the counter. She didn't look like someone who once coordinated an entire wedding with a pastel-colored schedule board, Chloe said. It seems like she's just surviving day by day, not even sure if she'll make rent tomorrow. She managed to lock in a regular shift from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. The rest were dependent on demand. No one mentioned the wedding. No one sent invitations. No one cared about the bride-to-be title anymore. Messages still came to my phone. "I know I was wrong. I've lost everything. I have nothing left, Jaden, please." I never replied. Lauren now had to see herself through the eyes of others, no longer shielded by spotlight or applause from her drama-loving friends. The words she kept shouting, desperate for scraps of sympathy, only echoed off the moldy walls of her rented room. Everyone carries their own choices. So did Lauren. The only difference was she never thought she'd have to pay. A week after she moved into that run-down room, I got a message from Claire. She just got fired. The whole office was buzzing this morning. Lauren had worked for a high-end event planning firm in downtown San Francisco, thanks to her father's connections. That role wasn't earned. It was granted through Mr. Richardson's blind faith in his daughter's polished, marriage-worthy image. Now everything was unraveling layer by layer. Claire said the office gossip started after a short clip began circulating. One of our mutual acquaintances had shared a 40-second cut, the part where Lauren sat between three strange men, laughing loudly without a hint of shame. Someone at work stumbled upon it, and that was all it took for the rumors to snowball. Picked apart, twisted, and shredded. No one defended Lauren. Colleagues who once toasted her at Christmas parties now avoided her gaze. Her manager pulled her into a closed-door meeting, danced around terms like company culture and brand image. They called it a minor restructuring, but everyone knew what it meant. Lauren left the building just before noon without a fuss. Claire saw her remove her name tag, tuck it into her purse, then slip into the alley on the side where no one had to watch her hang her head again. That night, I received a voice message from Lauren. "I got fired. Everyone looks at me like I'm garbage. I have no one. No friends, no home, nowhere I belong. I know I messed up. I'm not denying it anymore. I just hope you'd respond, even just one word. I pressed mute. I didn't delete it. I didn't listen further. I didn't need to hear someone fall apart over what they caused and thought tears could somehow undo. Zoe messaged me a few days later. She saw Lauren sitting alone at a roadside burger joint, wearing an old hoodie, cap pulled low, quietly staring out the window like she was trying to disappear into the air. She looked hollow, Zoe wrote. Sat there for 3 hours. Didn't eat anything. Just drank a glass of water. I don't think she even knows if she has a tomorrow. I didn't feel satisfaction or sorrow. It was like watching the solution to an equation I had already worked out. Everything made sense. Nothing extra, nothing missing. Chloe said Lauren tried finding a new job, but every place she applied called her old company for a reference. No one stabbed her in writing, but a moment of silence on the other end of the line was enough to send the application into the trash. She had built a life on standing out. The loud laugh, the sharp voice, the confident stride through networking events. But when that image cracked, no one wanted to stand next to someone who had once used status to mask behavior that their small world couldn't accept. Messages from Lauren kept coming. Longer, heavier. I'm sleeping on the floor in a room with only a ceiling fan that clicks all night. I don't blame you. I just don't know where to go or what to do. I've lost you. I did this to myself. But I need someone. Please. I stared at the screen. My hands didn't move. Just a slow tilt of the head. Silent. Not out of anger, because apologies now couldn't fix what she had already destroyed. No one was coming to save Lauren. No one had to. Each passing day was proof that the world had moved on. Everyone but her, trapped in the very image she once used to rise. No spotlight, no audience, no one listening, and no one left to lean on. On my final morning at Mendocino Ridge, I made coffee, opened the window, and sat quietly on the wooden ledge, watching the mist lift from the little lake behind the cabin. Birds called through the pine trees, the scent of damp earth, the wind tapping the eaves. It all lifted a weight I thought would never leave. Lauren was no longer a name that made my heart ache. I didn't follow her on social media. I didn't try to find out where she was sleeping, what she was eating, or how she was living. The pleading texts, the voicemails full of regret that faded into silence. I no longer felt the need to check them. Not because I was cold, but because I understood. As long as I remained her safety net, she'd never learn how to face herself. I had spent too many years trying to rescue someone who didn't want to be saved. Making excuses for everything that made no sense, convincing myself that if I just loved hard enough, everything would be fine. But no amount of love can mend dishonesty. No effort can save someone who burns everything down and then blames the smoke for clouding their vision. I packed my things and drove back to San Mateo. The old apartment had been returned. I temporarily rented a place near Beresford Park, quiet enough to sleep peacefully, yet vibrant enough to feel like I wasn't drifting through memories. The first week back at the office, no one asked many questions. Word about the wedding being called off had reached a few ears, but no one pried. One guy from the engineering team patted my shoulder during lunch break. "You doing okay, man?" I looked at him and nodded. I've never been better. After months of floating in the gray fog of disappointment, the feeling of taking control of my own life again was as clear as the sunlight streaming through the glass every morning. I got back into a gym routine, joined a weekend photography class, and spent my evenings reading instead of doom-scrolling through the past. Small things. But they nudged me forward, one step at a time. One afternoon, while walking along the Redwood Pier, I spotted an elderly couple fishing on a worn-out bench. The man held the rod. The woman quietly tore bread for the seagulls. They said nothing, just stared at the water as if no words were needed to understand one another. I stood there for quite a while, not because I was envious, but because, for the first time, I felt I'd learned something simple. Peace doesn't come from what others bring you, but from stopping yourself before you lose who you are. Lauren had once been a dream I clung to for too long, not realizing when it had turned into a nightmare. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish more punishment on her. Life had already taken care of that. She backed herself into a corner and turned away from every hand that had ever reached out. Everyone has to learn their own lesson. Mine was this: forgiveness doesn't mean taking someone back. It means letting go of the pain so you don't carry it forward. No more playing the victim, no more trying to be the hero. I chose to live, to stand up straight, head held high, without having to dodge anything anymore. No one's coming to save you. No one owes you repair for the cracks inside. But no one gets to break you unless you let them. I filed for a 2-week leave and booked a flight to Vancouver, the place I once wanted to take Lauren when we were still in love. The trip had been postponed because of work, then again because she was busy planning the wedding. Now, there was nothing holding me back. Sometimes, the things we're forced to let go of are what make us stronger, not because they were important, but because we learned how to walk past them without falling apart. I didn't look back. Didn't send a late goodbye message. Lauren had her chance. She chose to wreck it. I chose to move on. Not out of revenge, simply because the road ahead no longer had space for anything that pulled me under. Jaden's story is a clear reminder that betrayal doesn't just shatter a relationship, it exposes the truths we once chose to ignore. When someone lives too long in illusion and blind hope, sometimes the shock is the antidote they desperately need. Jaden didn't just lose a fiancé, he was forced to face himself and choose to keep walking. Calm, clear, without blame. In the end, real freedom isn't about holding on. It's about knowing when to let go. What do you think of Jaden's choice? Should he have forgiven her or moved forward the way he did? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt, thought-provoking family stories.